Hey there guys, welcome to another episode of Grits and Gears, where we're going to show you today how we're going to outfit our Polaris Ranger with all the necessary John Deere equipment in order to plot this year's field boundaries and make them autonomous capable. So if you haven't learned already, you'll know that for most reasons, with additional activations and autonomy features on John Deere equipment, you should be able to go ahead and set the path along the boundaries of your field, having already plotted them out with a piece of equipment such as this, and then your tractor will follow that preset boundary line that you've made. So no more having to worry about judging your distance from the cab to see, am I going to hit that fence post or that highline pole when you're going along the edge of your field. You'll have already driven it with this using the edge of the machine or however you set it. So we're probably just going to use our tire track right here. And then our equipment is going to follow that line precisely down to the inch using RTK. One of the other things I wanted to mention before we get started is that I noticed on YouTube and on John Deere Online and that are talking about plotting precise field boundaries is that they think that you should buy the AutoTrack ready John Deere Gator. We don't have any reason that a utility vehicle should need to be auto steer capable, and not to mention that John Deere Gators are really slow, or at least in the years past. So these Rangers go about 50 miles an hour. We can get from field to field much quicker using this and using our own setup. And one of the intentions that we have with this equipment is that we don't want to have this Ranger tied up with expensive John Deere displays and globes throughout the entire year. We want to just outfit it with the harnesses and the globe and the display so that we can go ahead and just do all of our field boundaries at once in the spring. We'll go around all of our draws to make interior boundaries, and you can mark those as passable or impassable, and then we'll just take all the equipment off. So I want it to be easy on, easy off, portable. Put that equipment to another use, like maybe this universal display, we'll stick it in a different tractor and use it on AutoTrack for that purpose, or anything of that nature. We just don't need it on the Ranger all year round. So just looking to save some money, potentially thousands of dollars, just being able to swap our equipment from machines easier. So that's what we're going for today. So in order to do this project, we're going to need 4 main things. First of all, a universal display. This here is a Gen 5. You can actually do this with a Gen 4. And there are a couple different things you should be aware of when you're shopping for these universal displays. Just note that the universal display can go on any piece of equipment. The ones that come in your John Deere tractor, though, those are called command centers. Those can't be used for this purpose. I bought this G5 on Facebook Marketplace, and it was about $5,000. It does come with permanent AutoTrack. Just be aware if you're shopping online for some of these Gen 5s that there's 2 different ones floating out there on the internet. One of them is really cheap and it doesn't have any permanent activations on it. So in order to get AutoTrack on one of those G5s, you're going to have to pay a subscription of like $1,000 to $2,000 a year. So those are called the Precision Essentials Kit, I believe is what they're called. So I went with the permanent activation model just to future-proof it a little bit. You're also going to need a globe that is capable of SF-RTK, or any RTK actually will work, but the preference is to use a Starfire 7000 or a 7500. So I got this 7500 here. It is not activated yet, but we're going to work on that. We need to have that sub-inch accuracy around all of the borders, all of the fence lines, and all of the interior boundaries. Without it being recorded on an RTK signal, it's not going to be happy when we try to run that boundary with our sprayer or planter. So the other piece that you need is a harness. And there's a couple different choices for harness. This one actually will run a universal steering wheel that John Deere makes, the ATU 300. You can also get a little cheaper of a harness that just plugs into the globe and the universal display and power, of course. So up to you. The harness I bought here was $550. The other ones are a little cheaper. So those are the main things you need. Let's go ahead and look at all of this stuff. One more thing you do need actually is a mounting bracket to secure this globe on the roof of the Ranger. We're ordering a universal mounting bracket right now. So once that comes in, I'll give you the part number and we'll post it on the top of this cab. All right, so we just got our John Deere universal mounting bracket for the SF-7500. This was an interesting process trying to figure out just how to piece this thing together. It just did not make sense, but fortunately the dealer did, after I requested it, send me a little breakdown manual of what it was supposed to look like. So that helped tremendously. So at this point, we're ready to go ahead and mount that universal mounting bracket on top of the Ranger cab. It was a little challenging to figure out how to do this without drilling additional holes in that cab frame, but we did eventually figure it out. The mounting kit supplied a lot of its own hardware, but one of the main things to do was go ahead and make sure that it's perfectly centered on the cab, and then go ahead and attach that SF-7500 module, which did just clip on there real nicely. And it has a quick attach and removal latch. So real easy to just take that off and swap it onto another piece of equipment when we're done here. Next, we're getting ready to go ahead and prepare that G5 universal display using the RAM mounting brackets that I was able to find on eBay. Those RAM mounts did not come with little bolts, however, and since I bought the G5 Universal on Facebook Marketplace, it didn't come with bolts in that regard either. Thanks to the junk drawer, the junk shelf, moreover, in the shop, we were able to find hardware that fit. So getting that good and secure, ready to go. Bringing it all over to the Ranger now, just getting all of our little RAM mounts ready to go. Popping that G5 Universal on there. One of the biggest challenges, though, was figuring out how do we organize this huge spool of Ag Express cable. I guess we just found a nice little cubby hole for it eventually after spending some time coiling it up right and properly, because there is a little power switch on there that you do want to have accessible, and that power switch triggers the display to enter its normal shutdown procedure rather than just shutting the key off. So I think that's a little bit nicer of a way on the computer as far as shutting it down. So when we go ahead and turn that key on the Ranger, we'll hit that on switch, and that will trigger the display to go ahead and fire up. It takes a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds, but not too long, and it looks like everything's ready to go. Connected, that Ag Express cable working beautifully. Here's a nice little overview of all the devices powered up, ready to go. I think we're ready to take it outside and conduct some measurements. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set up my vehicle, walk you through what I did there. Red Ranger, and the main thing is we need to tell it where that globe is positioned on the machine. So did go ahead and measure from the yellow part, the midway point, which is where you're supposed to measure it from down to the ground, and then from the center here to the turning back axle. And there's no offset because we do have that mounted directly in the center. So that's what we got for numbers there. And I did go ahead and make a fake 3-point hitch implement up front, so it tells you where to measure that from. And I just put that to basically the very front of the Ranger. Made a fake implement, but it turns out you don't really need to do the implement thing in order to make the boundaries, because now when you go to create a new boundary and it says create driven boundary required for autonomy, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to use, actually, instead of the implement work point, which you could do with a fake implement, but I think this might be a little more intuitive to use machine GPS. And so my offset was 32 inches. So the center point of the Ranger here, which I just measured here, to the edge of the wheel was 32 inches. I'm gonna want that on the left side. So it looks like it's happy. Predicted quality autonomy details. We got all of the requirements met. SF-7500, SF-RTK, offset point. So that's interesting. 80% or higher recording accuracy. Cool. So we're just gonna click. Well, I want to rename this, so I'm just gonna call it Ranger. And today it's 2/28/2025. Click OK, and we'll get started. So I'm just gonna start driving here. I'm gonna see if we're plotting. It looks like we are. So I'm gonna continue around this whole boundary. Try to guide it exactly where I want the edge of all the implements to go for this season. So that's exciting. We'll out for a rip. Brief update, just to say that we ran out of gas a couple miles from the farm. So otherwise, recording's going well. Still 100% accuracy. Maybe we will reclaim a bit of the section line back here, because you can see it shifted over. Downright neighborly of us. Best view. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so we actually succeeded. It did just go ahead and draw that whole outline, and once we got done, it said okay, so we're all set. Can't really tell much in here other than that, but we'll go to Ops Center and see if it transfers over. Now we are getting ready to document an interior boundary, one of our draws in the inside of this field, and we discovered that we initially did it wrong. So we're gonna go ahead and just delete our boundary, and then we're going to go back in here, boundaries. Here's our exterior boundary. Now we're gonna click this button, and then we're gonna click add interior boundaries. Go back to using our machine GPS. Click OK. And now we're ready to go ahead and draw that. So here's for round 2. Learn something every day. All right, now that we know we're back at where we started, we can click save. Go ahead, Sam. The interior boundary is not quite as intuitive on the mapping, but we also know that this one isn't passable, so That turned it into a purple one. Okay. All right, so we were able to see that our boundary transferred over into Operations Center, and we just went under boundaries here and located the one that we created. There's a few different ones that we made, so this might not be exactly the same one, but it successfully shows that the boundary was created with SF-RTK. So that was our goal. The only thing I'm not sure about is autonomy. It says autonomy not capable. Now, we're not using any autonomy features on our farm yet, but according to the G5 display, when we recorded that boundary, it said it would be autonomy capable. So John Deere is going to have to answer some questions for me on that issue. But our Wi-Fi module, just went ahead and synchronized that over to Operations Center automatically when it reconnected, because we have data sync activated. So everything is live, updated. It's very slick, pretty easy to use. That's all we have for this Grits and Gears tutorial. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, follow, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.